Ahoy, welcome back to another video. It's now the end of August, so that means it's time to talk about all my favorite games I played this last month. I've been making a video at the end of each month from January till now, going over my favorite games, both current and past, that I played during that month. And now we're in August, so 2/3 through the year. August was a weird month. I didn't play any super huge games. The biggest new game that I'm interested in that I didn't get around to was actually Black Myth Wukong. I'll probably get around to that game at some point this year. I haven't got around to it yet. This month I played 3 new games, and they're all indie titles. Interesting enough. So the first one I played came at the very beginning of the month, and it was a game that not from a genre I'm not normally super invested in. I don't play a lot. It was kind of like I would call it kind of an adventure game, not quite a traditional adventure game like you think like the old LucasArts games. But thank goodness you're here. It was a game that I saw people talking about a lot. It's a kind of like a comedy. It's a comedy game with like that kind of feels built off the bones of like an adventure game. So you're walking around, you're helping people do tasks, you're trying to figure out how to go from how to basically help out each person as you're going through different goofy ways. Basically, somebody has a problem, you show up, you solve their problem in a way you wouldn't expect. And it's got a fun little art style that reminded me of like stuff you see on like Cartoon Network. I believe it was published or developed by the people who made Untitled Goose Game, which kind of makes sense. I kind of got vibes of that game from Thank Goodness You're Here. Pretty funny game, very British. It's got a lot of British inspirations. I think when you turn the game on, it says something like right when you turn it on, it says something very British at you, and the options are like basically I understand what you said or what did you just say to me, and I hit what did you just say to me, and then it dumbed it down to like regular old boring American English for me. But it's a fun little game. It's a couple hours long. You'll get some good laughs out of it. I thought it was worth my time. I actually played it. I was traveling. I played it on a flight, and then a flight there and a flight back, and I got it done. So it was cool to play a game in a genre I'm not totally used to normally trying out. But yeah, I thought it was fun. If you want something you can knock out in a day and get a couple laughs out of, I recommend Thank Goodness You're Here. I think it's maybe a little pricey for the hour time. Personally, I didn't mind it. I got my enjoyment out of the price, but if you're looking for something, if you're playing for 3 hours or so, it might be a little on the pricier side for that. But the next game I played in August was actually a game from a genre that I play a lot of, and that is a 2D Zelda-like, a top-down 2D Zelda-like. These top-down 2D Zelda indie games are a dime a dozen. I feel like they show up all the time, and I'm always attracted to them. And the one I played this month is called Castaway. I saw people talking about it on Twitter. I saw a couple of YouTube reviews, and this game looks a lot like the original Game Boy Link's Awakening, at least in like the presentation of like you start off on a beach, and I was like, you know what? I like top-down 2D Zeldas. I'm just gonna buy it. It was $8. I'm gonna jump into it, and you start off on a beach. You do your normal 2D Zelda stuff. You explore. You get to a dungeon. You get an upgrade. You beat a boss. You leave the dungeon. Go explore. Get to the next dungeon. Upgrade boss. You do that 3 times, and then you actually roll credits. It's actually really quick. It's about maybe 45 minutes to probably do that. And I was like, man, that was really quick. I just beat this whole game. It took me 45 minutes. It's only $8, but it was fun. It felt like a 2D Zelda. It looked like a 2D Zelda. It sounded like a 2D Zelda. But it's like, man, that was a really quick experience. But then you unlock the tower mode. So you start off on like the exploration. You're on a beach. You're exploring a beach like a regular Zelda game. And when you beat that, you unlock the tower mode, which is basically a 50-floor, somewhat like a roguelite. You go through this tower that each floor has a makeup of enemies, And when you beat these enemies, you get experience. And when you get the experience, you get random level ups. And you can choose between, like, every time you level up, you get a couple options, like level up your sword damage, get extra hearts, or like get an orb that rotates around you that can deflect enemy attacks, something like that. So while the floors are the same every run, you can learn the floors. Those aren't changing. You can learn it to get better and better. Your level ups are changing every run, so you can kind of change it from run to run to feel a little more unique in that way. So it's kind of a roguelite. It's really just like a tower combat challenge. But that took me another hour or so to get through that. So overall, this game only took me about 2 hours to finish. So, I mean, for $8, I got my fun out of it. If you think about it, like, if you sit down to watch a movie, that takes about 2 hours, and that costs more than $8. So buying this game for $8, and I got 2 hours of fun out of it, I think it's well worth my time. So, yeah, Castaway, 2D Zelda-like, fun combat, some good pixel art, decent music. If you've played a 2D Zelda game, you kind of know what to expect here. But the combat tower at least set itself apart a little bit from other indie 2D Zeldas in that way. Had some fun bosses. I would recommend looking into it if you like those kind of games. But my favorite game from August, the third of 3 indie games I played, was actually from a series I really enjoy, a series that I've played pretty much every game in, and that is the Steamworld series with the newest entry of Steamworld Heist 2. So Steamworld Heist came out several years ago, and Steamworld Heist 2 plays very similar to the first one. It is a tactical turn-based strategy game where basically you've got units, and they have different classes or weapons. So say like a sniper rifle, a shotgun, a rocket launcher, a pistol, whatever you want to call it. And each of these weapons shoot in a certain way and do certain kinds of damage. But you move your units, you get behind cover, and you try to shoot the other units in the way and try to get through a level, complete an objective, collect loot, whatever you're trying to do for that level. But one thing this game has the most fun thing is a lot of the walls are angled. So when you shoot something up against the wall, they bounce around the walls, and you can. My favorite weapons to use are the snipers because they have a long sight view, and you can basically aim on a wall and try to bounce it off of a bunch of walls and try to bounce and hit the back of an enemy to do more damage. So this game is a ton of fun. If you played the first one, the second one is just as good, if not better. It has the same combat, but it added. Now there's like basically a job system. So not only are there the weapons that are kind of act as a class, but now each weapon actually has a class that's tied to it that has a particular set of skills. And if you're in a class, you can use the skills for that class for free. But you can also use these cogs, which are basically like like skill points. You can use these cogs or skill points to use skills from other classes that you're not currently in, to act as like a subclass or a secondary class to the one you're in, to build an even stronger version of that class. So you can really get down in the weeds and get real tactical with how you make up your team. Like I said, I like to use the sniper class because I just think it's fun to stand really far in the back, watch my sight go across the whole room, and then bounce it off a bunch of walls and hit somebody for a headshot for bonus damage. And then there's the boomer class, which is like your rocket launcher guy. That's always fun too, just blowing stuff up. But yeah, great game. If you've played the Steamworld games, you kind of know what to expect as far as like the story. All these games are kind of in a shared world or shared universe. They have a similar vibe in their tone. They're not super funny, but they're charming. You'll get a couple laughs out of them. But if you've played a Steamworld game, the story is about what you'd expect. You start off in one area and you end up fighting the robot aliens at the end. That pretty much they all end like that. They all work through like that, and it's no different here. But I had a lot of fun with it. I just finished it today. I did every mission. I got every star for every mission. So basically, I beat every mission, completed all the objectives, got all the loot. Uh, it's a great game. It's one of my favorite indies I've played this year. Probably my top 10 games I've played this year overall. Probably not quite top five, but I think it'll be top 10 game, at least so far. Um, if you like Steamworld games, this is another great one. If you liked Steamworld Heist, this is just a longer, overall better version of Steamworld Heist and Steamworld Heist 2. I guess some of the new stuff that it did add to differentiate from the original, there is now an overworld map. In the original, it's kind of like you just pick a level, you just go level to level. This one has a actual overworld map that you explore with a submarine, and you upgrade the submarine as you go. It's a because you're like on a nautical adventure this time. In SteamWorld Heist 1, you're in space, and this one you're like on the planet going through like the ocean. So you go to a level, you upgrade your characters, you level those up, and then you go to the shops and you buy weapons for them, or you buy like submarine upgrades. And the submarine you traverse the overworld with, and you fight overworld enemies like other submarines or other ships, and you find hidden loot there. And it kind of just acts like as a more fun way to get from a level to a level rather than just choosing it from a select screen, you know. There are some overworld bosses that you fight as a submarine. They're not as fun as the base game. You're kind of just the regular turn-based combat is the bread and butter here. The submarine combat is fine. It's nothing to write home about, but it's a good change of pace, and it's better than just choosing from a menu to go to the next level. See, overall, SteamWorld Heist 2, fantastic game. My favorite game I played this month. Who knows? Later on in the year, I plan to get to playing Black Myth Wukong. I've heard great things about that game. That came out this month. That might retroactively be my favorite game from August, but as we sit now, SteamWorld Heist 2 takes the top spot for me. So yeah, those are all the August games I played this year. But I did finish up a couple other games, or play a couple other games that didn't come out this month. The first one being one that I played all the way back in March, Unicorn Overlord. This game was my March game of the month, but I didn't quite finish it in March. I got about 25 hours into it. I was having a great time with it, but I just got distracted with all the other games that came out, and I finally got around to finishing it this month. And it's a great game. I really enjoyed it. It's basically a kind of like a real-time strategy RPG. You have your units, these squads. You kit them out. You build. Basically, you can put 5 people in a party, and you put different class types, whether it be like a fighter, a knight, or like a cavalier, or a wyvern. No, wyvern. There are wyverns. A pegasus. All these units have different like abilities and ways to interact with other units, and you basically just in a real-time strategy, the characters march around the map, and when they meet another character, you go into basically a turn-based battle. It's a little weird though. These turn-based battles you don't control them. They're predetermined based off of the makeup of each team. So that's an interesting way to think for me, because I'm used to like making decisions and like, how am I going to attack this enemy? What am I going to do here? But in reality, the decision's already made. When those two enemies hit, your party makeup and their party makeup are going to end in this result, and you can't do anything about it. So that took a little adjustment to get used to. I think by the end of the game, I was used to it, and I found out like ways to take down certain enemy types and like what you needed to do. But at first, it was a little jarring for me, not being able to control the battle. But this game is it's got the great Vanillaware like artwork. It's got great music. Exploring the overworld's fun. The story was it was acceptable. It wasn't fantastic. There was a couple twists, but overall, it was a pretty predictable fantasy story. The game has a very steep learning curve because it can be a really complex system building out these squads and being successful in these battles. And then basically, so really steep learning curve. Then I understood it, and it was a fun challenge for about, so say 10, 15 hours steep learning curve. 10, 15 hours was me having a good time being challenged. And then the last like 20 hours, I was just over leveled. I had explored everything. I was doing every challenge. I was getting all the optional loot and optional weapons and all the optional characters. And by that point, I was just too strong. I just steamrolled the game for like the last 20, 25 hours. Um, so it was a little weird. Like, I was still enjoying myself, but I had no pushback. I just had the main character march to the end of the level and kill the boss, and I won. And there was nothing stopping me from doing that. Nothing ever got in my way. I was way too over leveled. And I feel like I was playing on, like, I wasn't playing on, like, easy mode. I don't remember if I was playing on hard mode, but I definitely wasn't playing on easy mode. But either way, I wish the game pushed back me a little bit more. I think it's just the way that the game's made up with so much optional content and so much exploration it lets you have between the levels. If you do all of it and you get all the crazy super strong weapons and you get all the upgrades to your squads and stat boosters and all that stuff, you're just going to naturally just roll through the rest of the game. So, I enjoy in RPGs becoming over leveled. That's part of the fun of an RPG, that power trip of, going from zero to hero. But in this one, I was over leveled for too long, I think. But overall, I did really enjoy this game. It still deserves its spot as my March favorite game of the month. I'm glad I finally got around to finishing it. Other games I played this month, I was wanting to get more into NSO. I think I've mentioned that a couple months ago or last few months. So I started playing some more of the N64 NSO games. Namely, I streamed Turok Dinosaur Hunter, a couple weeks ago. First-person shooter on the N64. We've got the single stick. So I didn't grow up with single stick shooters, or I didn't grow up with shooters on the N64. So moving around with a single stick is always awkward to me because you move and you aim with the same thing, and then you move with, I think you move left and right with the C button. I can't remember, but it's just an awkward control scheme for me, and it takes a lot of getting used to. And even when I did finally get used to the control scheme, I feel like this Turok had it was a difficult game, and also I was having trouble traversing the world. I was getting lost a lot. One thing in part because of like the N64 fog, just clouding my sight, and also just in general, I feel like the environments is like the jungle environments were very repetitive and really easy for me to get lost in. Did I already go this way? I can't remember, and I was just retreading ground the whole time, and it didn't click with me. The weapons were fun. Overall, once I got used to the controls, the actual playing of the game was pretty fun. I just don't know if I want to go back to it and play a whole lot more of Turok Dinosaur Hunter. However, I did also play another first-person shooter on this N64 17 Plus NSO app, and that is Perfect Dark. In Perfect Dark, I jumped into that one. I was able to gel with the control scheme a little bit quicker just because I had just been playing Turok, but similar system there with the one, obviously the one joystick and aiming and moving around the C buttons. But I jumped on that a little bit quicker because I was used to the controls. And that game, I feel like the levels were a little more easy for me to understand where to go. I didn't get lost quite as easily. It wasn't quite as open and confusing for me, and I was having a really good time with that game. I did the first 2 levels, I think, of Perfect Dark, and I think that one I will stick with. I've always heard great things about Perfect Dark N64. I've always heard it's one of the highest rated games of all time if you go on Metacritic. But I've never got around to playing it. But it's a fun game. I was sneaking around with my silenced pistol in that first level, taking everyone out. And I think I will try to stick this one out and try to finish this one. Not only because it's a fun game, but also it's just kind of a somewhat historically important game. One of the highest rated games of all time. And then there's the new one coming out on the Xbox next year. And I would like to have some familiarity with the series. I know there's another one on the Xbox 360, I believe, or maybe it's the first Xbox. I can't remember. There's an Xbox Perfect Dark that maybe I'll play one day, but I definitely want to get this N64 one done before the one that comes out on the Xbox Series X next year. Yeah, Perfect Dark, great game. I'll stick that one through, and I'll hopefully have more to talk about it in a upcoming N64 NSO review video. I've done a couple of those. I wanted to get a part 3 for the new games on NSO. And then other than that, the other games I played this month, I just got done streaming a little bit of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So why am I playing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee? I mentioned earlier on earlier versions of these videos that I'm trying to finish the Pokemon Home Dex. So basically, I'm trying to catch every single Pokemon that's ever been and get it in the Pokemon Home Pokedex to get a full completion and say I'm the ultimate Pokemon master. I've caught them all, whatever. I'm up to I think I need 70 more Pokemon, and basically with Let's Go Eevee, I wanted to get the remaining Kanto Pokemon that I did not have in Pokemon Home. So, I've played Let's Go Pikachu on my Switch back when it released in 2018. And then, through various other Pokemon games, I've transferred pretty much all of the Gen 1 Pokemon to home. But I was missing a couple random ones. I think in this stream I caught a Kakuna, a Jigglypuff, a Weepinbell, a Venonat, and a Pidgeotto, of all things. I didn't have those, so I streamed a few hours to this game, and I got those Pokemon. I got them transferred to home. The reason I didn't want to just start over on Let's Go Pikachu just because I had a complete save on that. And also, I would like to own all the Switch Pokemon games while they're, I got this on eBay for not full price, and I want to have all the Pokemon games. I like collecting all the Pokemon games. I didn't have this one, so I decided just to buy it off eBay so I could have an excuse to play it and finish up that Kanto Pokedex. So I now have all 151 for Kanto in Pokemon Home, so I'm pretty happy about that. And then another game, I actually already own this game, but the next one I'll do in this series is I'm going to stream Brilliant Diamond. I've got 2 more Pokemon I've got to catch in Gen 4. I'm going to do it through Brilliant Diamond. I'm going to stream playing that game, trying to get those last 2 Pokemon. And then I'll move to Sword and then maybe Violet to try to finish up the other remaining ones. But yeah. August, fun month, not super packed with big, new, huge titles I just had to play. Like I said, Steamworld Heist 2, I enjoyed that one. That was the only real game that demanded my attention this month. Castaway and Thank Goodness You're Here, I'm glad I played those. But those were games I just saw reviews on. I saw people talking about on Twitter and said, I'll try those out. But nothing that really, really jumped out at me this month other than Steamworld Heist 2. But September, on the other hand, has several games that are going to take up a lot of my time, and I'm very excited about. You've got your Astrobots, your Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, and then several other games that I plan and hope to play in September. I'm actually hoping that either, after watching this video, the next day or a couple days after this video releases, I'm going to be doing a video for my most anticipated games of September, just because that month is probably the biggest month of the year so far in terms of game releases that I want to play. I think there's 6 games that I will be trying to play at some point this year. And obviously I won't be able to fit them all into next month. In 1 month, that's just impossible. But I'm going to damn well try my best. So yeah, look out for that video if you're looking forward to kind of a player's guide for what I'm looking forward to for September. But yeah, overall, that's all I got for this month. Another great month in the books. 2024 has been a great year so far. And I can't wait to talk about all the great games that I'm going to play in September about a month from now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.